Alright, what's going on guys? Chili Games back again, and this is a video that I actually kind of forgot to do. I've had this gameplay of the ZF-6 for probably a week now, and that is no longer in my port due to the CC loan ending. And if you will notice something, I am running 2 main battery reload boosters, so I'm using shear on this ship. We only sacrifice about 200 meters on the concealment if I were to go for bay. And to be honest, only having 1 main battery reload booster just feels... I hated it, honestly. I mean, you look at like PC, and yes, they do have 12 players, and yes, they do have 20-minute matches, but they get 4. And I don't think it's completely out of the question to actually give RDDs that have main battery reload booster 2 stock. I mean, Jean Bart gets 2, so I really don't think it'd be overpowered. I mean, let's be honest, because if you have 2, you can use them in different situations, and you aren't basically forced to use them in DD engagements, which is kind of just, it takes a lot of fun out of the ship, especially when it's a really good gunboat, and the torpedoes on this ship are actually pretty insane. And overall, I think this is a pretty good game. Since we aren't running anything for the torpedoes, we do have the standard 8-kilometer range, but they do go 75 knots, which is very, very fast. I mean, the torpedo speed, if you would have joined this game 2 years ago when it launched, I think the fastest torpedoes were, it might have been 70. I know you could get up to 69 with the Z-23, but we have just completely eclipsed the like, I feel like every destroyer we get now is like torpedoes that hit very, very hard, and they go 150 knots. So these torpedoes do hit really, really hard as well. So it's a little bit saddening, because I wish it was a little bit better of a gunboat. I would have definitely, in development, sacrificed some of the torpedo power to make it a little bit better of a gunboat, and to persuade people to actually build into a gunboat build a little bit more. But this ship really can do it all. And popping a smoke here for the Helena. Notice how we are positioned away from the cap, so if we do get spotted, or if we would have gotten spotted, we have a really easy way to get out. We get the capture point, and kind of just chewing on the Helena a little bit. I think this was my 3rd or 4th game, and something that we all talked about in the CC Discord was the HE is pretty awful. However, if you are running shear and you run the extra fire chance, you do get 8%, which 8% with a reload like this is actually really, really, really good. So the HE it's German. It's very anemic, and you will definitely struggle if you're actually trying to get some damage out of it. But for the battleships, if you're trying to get fires, or you're just trying to set fires, it actually does a really good job. But the main thing with this ship is what we talked about, is you want to be shooting AP probably, I would even say 70-80% of the time. I mean, it is the much better choice. You do have a pretty high alpha, and other than setting fires with the HE, you're going to be wanting shooting AP. So kind of just biding our time, and this is a carrier match, which I keep wanting to say the Z-46. It's not the Z-46. The ZF-6 is, it has serviceable AA, and right now with the carrier, we work at tier 7 with the planes having less HP. You can actually occasionally shoot down a plane. It definitely won't stop any strikes, and especially with evasive maneuvers, it won't really save you in that regard. But it is kind of fun to actually somewhat be able to shoot down some planes here and there. I definitely wouldn't recommend building any DD for any sort of AA build, because essentially, the more you build for AA, usually what that means is you're increasing the range, and since you cannot turn AA off in Legends, it's pretty much telling the carrier exactly where you are at a much longer distance. So just don't worry about the AA on DDs. AA across the board for destroyers is very, very low. Even if the AA rating is somewhat decent, what you really have to look at is the damage per second that it does. And most planes are probably going to have around the 2,500 to 3,000 HP per plane. And I can't remember what this has, but it's definitely only like a few hundred AA damage per second. So it might be in the 200s. I haven't looked at it since this replay, honestly. So that means it's going to take quite a while, even with the quote-unquote good AA for this ship. Kind of moving our way to the middle of the map. What I'm noticing here is that we have essentially the Georgia's killed on the flank over there, and we have aircraft support over here, and the Fletcher was last spotted pretty far away, honestly. So should I stay and engage the Fletcher? Probably, but what I'm noticing more, and it looks like the more pressing issue, is the B flank is really, really struggling. So I am leaving it to my team and my two cruisers here and my carrier. I don't think they should have too much trouble cleaning up the Helena and also the Fletcher. I think the Fletcher, if the carrier can find them, the Fletcher is going to be rendered pretty much useless, and we already have CCAP. So making our way already to go ahead and try to stall out this B push over here, and we are actually down quite a bit. We haven't done too much, but we do have all of our HP, and as you can see here, Fletcher was spotted at 8.5 kilometers, and I'm electing not to shoot. It's one of those things where the DPM on the ship is pretty good. However, I don't really want to give my position away, and I'm glad I didn't, because the Siegfried is coming around the corner, and that also means that everyone else in this flank is probably close behind or even in front. So keeping the element of surprise here, and the Fletcher can't really do anything down there, especially with an Atlanta and an aircraft carrier. They cleaned up the kill on the Helena as well. So we are playing defend duty pretty much. And now you see me open up on the Siegfried here, and what I want him to do is I want him to try and get all of his guns. I want him to turn to his right, because I want him to turn and catch a full set of torps, but he was probably running hydro. We do end up catching one, and this will give you a pretty good idea of the DPM and the turret traverse, and how these guns and the HE can actually really struggle pretty hard. This was, I wasn't using AP here. I think this was this was definitely one of my first few games in it, so I wasn't really on the you need to use AP a lot of the time. So I'm still trying to force the HE, and you can see how much we've been struggling. I used the main battery reload booster a little bit too soon, and it cut my DPM pretty hard. But the reload on these guns is actually still pretty nice. But Akatsuki, with no health buffs, he's not running sims, and you can see how much we're struggling to kill him. I feel like any other DD would have done a much better job. And we end up being hydroed by the Siegfried, which isn't the worst, because Siegfried DPM is actually really terrible. And his reload isn't very good as well. But the thing that I really want to watch out for is definitely the torps. I kind of want to stay a little bit further away. I'm waiting for him to commit to a turn. I don't dump all of my torpedoes because I want to catch him in a rudder shift, basically meaning that I could capitalize on killing this guy, because he definitely needs to die here. And we actually hit 2 on him. I'm not sure how. And we didn't give him an opportunity to torp us as well. Carriers are coming overhead. The Georgia, they actually don't have much DPM to deal with me right now, which is good. We still have a pretty significant amount of HP. Our carrier is going to go spot the Akatsuki, and we almost actually torpedo him in there, which would have been really funny. But the only things that we really have to worry about is the Georgia, which doesn't really have good DPM versus DDs. The Akatsuki is over there. We're back inside our smoke screen, and we're trying for the life of us to try and clean up this Akatsuki. And you can see how the guns can just, it feels like when you're shooting the HE in the ship, it feels like sometimes when you hit them, you're actually giving them HP, and it just, there was one engagement that I had versus an Akatsuki, or no, it wasn't. Akazuki at about 8 kilometers, and I had the advantage. I smoked up, the carrier was spotting him, his engine was down, and I think it took me full health. It took full health on the Akazuki. It took me like 56 hits to kill him, and that was burning through a reload booster at 8 kilometers. So that's why when the Fletcher came out, I didn't want to shoot him at that range because I probably wouldn't have got much done, and we had plenty of backup to deal with him later. So I didn't want to give my position away. Holding my fire against the Georgia, we caught him in a turn, and hopefully these torpedoes are going to connect. When I realized that his guns are turning and he's turning his ship as well, I realized that it's going to take him quite a while to actually retarget me. So I open up, hit him with 1 torp on the first set, and hit him with 2, and you can see the damage that these things do. I forget the actual alpha, but they hit very, very hard, and the Fletcher actually kills our Atlanta. Not too sure how. The Atlanta must have been out of radars, or he had used them, and unfortunately for us, the carrier actually cleans up that kill. But the biggest problem right now is we don't know the state of our friendly cruiser down at D. Checking on it there, and while we are ahead on points, if he dies, they would still hold 3 caps. So instead of trying to go find a carrier, I know it's my best interest to capture this base, and it's pretty much free XP. Anytime you capture a base, it's going to skyrocket your average XP per match, and it will just lead to much, much higher scores. So free points here. We're going to stay in this little area here because we want, my next plan is to go for B. I'm not looking for kills. The carrier shouldn't have too much of a problem cleaning up the kill, or at least spotting the Fletcher, rendering him useless, because just like that, once you are spotted in a DD, a lot of your advantages are gone. So we're kind of just chilling. 1 cap, 3 kills, 8 fires, which is pretty good. With the amount of shells we've been shooting and the little bit of AP that we've been shooting. Like I said, I actually do like this build because it gives you an extra main battery reload booster, and we notice that the carrier is right there. So I'm itching. I am itching to head off, but I know the best play for me right now is to capture this base. I know that I want to kill him, and I'm sitting here. I'm waiting. I am like a Rottweiler on a leash, ready to go for this guy. Not too worried about his planes. Lexington dive bombers they can be good, but they can be trolly. So as long as you are angled and you don't give them a straight on target to bomb, it's not going to be too bad. And kind of looking up here, and we spot the Lexington, and this is where you can get a pretty good spot to see the DPM start to go. We're at 156,000 damage right now. And while we aren't getting citadels, we are taking a huge amount of damage every salvo. And this is 1.6 seconds on the reload. It's pretty filthy. And this is why I like having the second main battery reload booster, because it gives you opportunities to actually use them for big DPM hits like this. We launch our torpedoes. They're only 8 kilometers. Lexington's coming in for a torpedo attack. We're honestly not too worried about it. I should have kept my speed. I could have fit through that gap, but if he hits us with 1, it's not that big of a deal. And this game is over. We have too many caps, and the points are about to expire the match for us. And again, is another time where you're going to see the HE DPM just be really, really bad. So we can't shoot AP here, which is sad, and our torpedoes run out. And just save this guy. We still have 40 seconds, but the time is going to expire, and as our last shot lands, we hit the 200,000 damage mark. Game ends. I would have loved to have killed that guy, but it probably would have taken me quite a bit of time. And that is going to be it for, I guess, the ZF-6. Let me know if you guys enjoyed it. A nice 4,000 base XP. I actually really like this ship. I can't wait to get my hands on it and abuse the main battery reload booster even more. So with that, guys, I'll leave y'all with that, and y'all have a good one. Peace.